During this first bit of the posture clinics, we are going to primarily just be working through Tadasana, as well as Uttanasana, Urdhva Uttanasana, Urdhva Hastasana, and Uttanasana. So essentially the beginning part of a sun salutation, the standing portion of the sun salutation. In order to understand the way that these postures work, it's important to understand the biomechanics of the feet. We went over this a lot during anatomy and physiology. This is going to be your first introduction to bandhas. And the bandha that we're going to talk about is not one that's traditionally referred to in yoga textbooks. So in yoga textbooks, we'll talk about this in future modules, but in yoga textbooks, Uddiyana Bandha, Mula Bandha, and Jalandhara Bandha are the three bandhas that primarily we talk about because those are energy locks. The lock we're going to be talking about today primarily is called Padha Bandha. So Padha is foot. During this module, you'll get more than an introduction to Sanskrit as well, so I encourage you to embrace it, try and learn it. It will become more natural the more that you practice. Padha Bandha is the bandha at the bottom of the foot. So we're just going to look at the bottom of the foot. I'm going to scoot myself just a little bit closer so that we can see exactly what I'm talking about. So you have arches in your feet. This is the arch that we're most familiar with, right, in the plantar fascia. And that is the arch between the pad underneath of the big toe and the heel. There's actually 3 arches in the foot. So I'm just going to draw on my foot here. There is an arch that goes from the big toe all the way over to the little toe, one arch. There's an arch that comes from the pad underneath of the little toe all the way down to the heel, second arch, and then an arch that comes from the pad of the big toe all the way down to the heel, third arch. So if you roughly draw a triangle on the bottom of your foot, that's the bandha that we're trying to have. So we're trying to lift all 3 arches of the feet simultaneously. While this happens, the toes will melt down. So if we look this from an Iyengar perspective, he's going to say, put the weight neither in the heel nor the balls of the feet, but soften the toes down towards the ground. I encourage you to practice this in Tadasana, to practice what words resonate with you in Tadasana. We'll go through a little bit of it right now and speak to it a bit in an anatomical sense. And we'll talk about the energy bodies later in class, later in the module. So we're not going to get into energy bodies and posture clinics right now. We're going to look at the way that different bodies look in postures, what may be potentially hazardous on a musculoskeletal system level, and then what's kind of ideal according to the yoga masters. So we're going to come on up to Tadasana. This is the most foundational pose, also called Samastitihi in a lot of different lineages. In the lineages that I used or the lineages that I'm familiar with, Samastitihi is with the hands together. In a lot of lineages, Samastitihi is what we refer to as Tadasana. So starting at the base, Iyengar says bring the big toes together. Bikram also says bring the big toes together. We talked about this during the anatomy portion of our training, but bringing the big toes together, particularly for women, can be problematic because our hips are a little bit wider, and so the way that our femurs are inserted into the sockets in the hips, this can cause friction on the inside of the knees or compression on the inside of the knees, so the medial side of the knees, and can maybe be not so great for the ligaments. That said, particularly in vinyasa style yoga practices, we don't spend a lot of time just standing in mountain pose. We do it quite a bit in between sun salutations, but we don't spend a lot of time just standing here. So for what it's worth, if it feels better for your clients to have their feet separated just a couple of inches so that they're right underneath of the hip points, that's probably okay, especially for women, particularly for women. Starting with that Padha Bandha, you're going to shift the body weight back and forth, so forward and back over the toes and then over the heels of the feet. Make sure that the feet are lined up. So if you were up against a wall, the heels would be kind of pressing against that wall at the same level. Then from there, you're going to find the center of your foot and lift up through the inner arch of the foot while you dive down through the outer ankle. Do you feel this? Lift the inner arch, drive down through the inner ankle, and then ground through the big toe. So you're gonna do all three of those things at the same time. Lifting through the inner arch is gonna work that medial arch of the foot. Pushing down through the lateral line of the leg is gonna ground through that outer line arch, and then bringing the big toe mounds down. You should feel nice and grounded to the ground now. Ideally, this is where you are in all of your standing postures. You're practicing Padha Bandha in all of your standing postures. It can be very fatiguing to the musculature and ligaments in the foot. So just know, standing like this is very challenging. Much like yoga is intended to be challenging on the musculature of the body, this is the foundation of where everything starts. So practice here more than anywhere else. Once you get the musculature of the feet engaged and on board with what the rest of the body is doing, you will feel the rest of the musculature in the body start to automatically engage. It's the way that the system was designed to work. So Padha Bandha, Padha Bandha. From there, notice if the knees are locking out. So for people like me, we have a bit of hypermobility in the knees. The reason is the body weight is shifted forward slightly. So you're gonna keep the body weight, maybe what feels to you like a bit more back in the heels. So if someone says, I feel like I'm about to tip over, and you're looking at them and you see you are not indeed about to tip over. You're in a plumb line. You know that person potentially carries their body weight forward just a little bit. It needs to practice more learning how to carry the body weight more evenly through the feet. So Padha Bandha, push down, lift the inner arches of the feet, push down through the outer ankles, and then ground the big toes. Legs should be nice and solid here. Tiny little engagement through the gluteus muscles, that's perfectly fine. You're gonna pull the muscles in between the pubic bone and the belly button slightly in, but not so much that it flattens the low back. So the butt should be behind the body. Here, just tuck in, shift the body weight back a little bit. From there, front ribs together so that you feel the abdominal muscles engage. Lift the side waists, fingertips down towards the ground. This is a point of contention. Iyengar, if you look at Light on Yoga, his fingertips are here. So fingers together, fingertips pointed all the way down. I actually like this much better than the way that we teach it in modern yoga. So in modern yoga, we say roll the shoulders up, back, and down, palms forward. While this is like Michelangelo-esque, right, anatomical position, Iyengar actually has the shoulders more in neutral than he does external rotation. I do like this personally because it keeps the ribs more engaged. It keeps the abdominal muscles in the front of the body more engaged, which is something that we can all use. From there, last little pointer is that the head is going to stack directly over the bowl of the pelvis. So weight down, Padha Bandha, lift the arches of the feet, press down through the outer ankles. Soften the toes, good. Push down through the big toe mound. You should feel the legs engage. Pull up through the low ab muscles. Make sure that the shoulders are back over the hips. Pull the front ribs together. Reach the arms down. Lengthen through the side waist, and then bring the head back in line with the spine. From here, we go into Urdhva Hastasana. So the arms are going to lift up. Here, you're going to externally rotate the arms. So arms were facing down towards the ground, very Iyengar style, down towards the ground. For Urdhva Hastasana, the arms are going to externally rotate, so the palms are going to face towards the ceiling, and then you're going to lift all the way up. What you will notice is the shoulders lift, they lift the rib cage. It's natural for the spine to come into a bit of extension here. What we want to look for is activity through the arms, so you're actively reaching up through the fingertips. It is okay if the shoulder blades elevate here. So Urdhva, up. So upward facing dog is Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Urdhva, up. Hastasana, hands. Padha, foot. Hasta, hand. Urdhva Hastasana. Hands, up with the hands. Roughly what it means, up with the hands, right? So you're just adding a component onto Tadasana. The original embodiment of Tadasana stays the same. You stay with the Padha Bandha, you stay grounded down into the legs as the arms are reaching up. Everything stays nice and stable. You lengthen the side waist even if the shoulders come up. We talked about shoulder anatomy a little bit. When you're elevating the shoulder blade, so the shoulder blade is doing a rotation out to the side because the arms are coming up over the head, right? It's more pronounced when the arm's going out to the side, but nonetheless, the shoulder blade is rotating as the arms are going out to the side and coming up over the head. Here, the shoulder blade is rotated and elevated. And the reason you shouldn't, there's no hard and fast rules. The reason that you shouldn't tell people to pull their shoulders out of their ears is it can cause an over activation of the rhomboid muscles and the lower trapezius muscles, which can then lead to all kinds of downstream stuff happening with the ribs and in places that you don't necessarily want to have it happen. So because of this little acromion process that we talked about last time we met, because of the acromion process, people's ability to lift the arm without the collarbone coming with them and elevating the shoulder blade is going to be vastly different person over person. So allow the musculature to move the bones the way that they are structured in the body rather than trying to fight where the bones might have compression or touch each other. So Urdhva Hastasana, same principles as mountain pose. You can bring this into a little bit of extension, especially if you're bringing the arms behind the body. Just be mindful that when you do bring the arms behind the body, the chest is going to tend to go forward for most people. So again, activating through the abdominal muscles here will really help people to embody these postures. Practice those just a couple of times. We will move into some forward folding in the next video.